How you doing? I don't know if it's yeah. I think it's recording. If it doesn't, click out. Welcome to my channel. I'm just gonna be doing reviews. I don't know if you can hear me. Let me see if I can turn you up. Welcome to this journey of a lifetime, where you get into what I be into. All right, let's get it started. I wanted to do a tutorial on Hitler speaking in English. For years, we've been trying to get what has got this man so angry. I remember back in college, I wrote a paper on righteous indignation, and I wrote about Hitler and Timothy McVeigh, and I wrote about how the bread at one time was so expensive they had to put barrels of money just to pay for bread. So, I mean, here we go. Let's go. Let's go. I'm gonna fast forward it for you. I'm gonna fast forward it for you.
There, there, with press propaganda and control of information, it was possible to found the prototypical large parties. Even back then, there were always two or three groups that appeared to be fighting against each other, but in reality were all hanging on a gold thread, and everything was adjusted to a peculiar human characteristic. That man gets tired of something he has had for a long time. He wants something new. And so two parties were needed. One of them rules and the other one forms the opposition. When one party is played out, the opposition party comes to power, and the played out party now takes its turn as the opposition.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Democrats, Republican, red state, blue state, Dame Dash, Jay Z. It sounds familiar, right? I mean, that's the biggest hoax in the world. If you and I beef with each other, we make the whole world watch. Even right now, we got Jim Jones, we got Mace, we got Cameron. People are creating conflict. Eminem, conflict. Conflict creates dollars, it creates reactions. So this guy is telling you from way back in the days that there's two parties, and he's also telling you they're in cahoots with each other. This is from Hitler himself. Listen.
After 20 years, the new party becomes played out, and the game repeats itself anew. In reality, this is certainly an ingenious mill in which the interests of a nation are ground down. As is well known, such a thing is called self-government of a people. In the process, we always find two main buzzwords, freedom and democracy, as figureheads. Freedom is understood to mean, at least among the authoritative bodies that actually govern, the possibility of plundering the broad masses without limits or resistance. The masses themselves, of course, believe that freedom means the exercise of a very particular freedom of movement, both freedom of movement of the tongue and freedom to move about the streets, etc. A bitter deception. On the whole, we can say that England, as well as France, put on the chains of slavery already back then. With a bronze firmness, these states are in Jewish chains as long as the Jew himself does not feel the necessity and expediency of a change in this condition. This change will also occur there in the foreseeable future. Now, what is the difference between this Western Europe on the one hand and Eastern and Central Europe on the other? Here, industrialization did not happen as quickly. The masses streamed more slowly from the static countryside into the cities. Only slowly did the large cities develop here, and it took a long time for a fourth estate to form in Germany as well. In addition to this, there was the fact that both in the East and in Germany, the presence of the Jew was constantly felt by the broad masses because of his greater numbers, so that the whole people had an inner instinctive aversion to him among all classes, but most of all the peasant, the worker, and the honest petty bourgeois. On the other hand, a part of our own aristocracy and a certain circle of merchants to whom money and gold are everything were the most quickly corrupted. If political contamination was already more difficult because of the large number of Jews and the consequent aversion of the mass of our people, the difficulty was increased by a form of government which did not place ultimate authority in the hands of a weak-willed and irresponsible so-called majority, but which was traditionally anchored in a personal apex, the monarchy. At that time, the Jew had to admit to himself that in these countries, the resurrection of an enlightened despotism would by no means be impossible. There were three powerful factors at the disposal of the head of state. The army, with a huge, wonderfully well-coordinated officer corps. The body of civil servants, with its enormous apparatus of completely dutiful officials. And a great broad mass of people who were inwardly still free from any poison. And if we add to this the fact that at that time, the national intelligentsia in Germany was still almost exclusively predominant, that even wholesale trade was still in German hands, that above all the young, flourishing, rich industry was of German origin and German ownership, and that further, the enormous peasantry, the last reservoir of a nation's strength, was still completely uncontaminated and healthy, we understand the following consideration of the Jewish people who at that time were gaining political equality. When, through industrialization, a new fourth estate is formed in the cities, there is a danger that this fourth estate will fraternize with the monarchy, and that on this basis a people's kingdom or people's empire will come about willing and ready to deal the death blow to the international financial powers. Therein lay...
Now let me pack that. What is he saying? He's saying if you look around today, everything he was talking about then is happening now. You know, it's crazy. We really dip into Hitler. What did he stand for? You know, I'm never advocating violence. This is for entertainment purposes only. This is a reaction video. I'm never into what Hitler was into. But you at least gotta study and tap into what was his point. You know, the outcome, we see the outcome. You know, when people get oppressed, it seems like after a while they send a fight back. But to go so radical with it, you know what I mean? Like, basically they were doing what the other people were doing, but they, for some reason, got the whole world against them. Whew. You know, I pray for all the families and all the people who had to go through. You know, I mean, who pissed this man off? It just shows you in life, be careful who you piss off. You never know, they could be a short person. You know, they had a, what was it The Simpsons or Family Guy was one of them, where the cartoon showed Hitler working out. And the Jewish guy came in, he had all these muscles and all the girls were around him. And Hitler was sitting there, he was angry. You know, they're trying to be funny, but at the same time, you just never know who you piss off. When you stay humble, it's hard to piss people off so much. We're going to conclude this. I'm going to give you about one more minute and then I'll end it.
Lay a grave danger for Jewry if the broad mass of the then forming labor force had come into national hands and had then seized the nation as a true social catalyst, if the liberation of the individual estates had taken place organically step by step, and if the state form had later been based on this, then what many hoped for on November 9th, 1918 would have come about, a national social state. For socialism as such is anything but an international creation. As a noble conception, it has grown exclusively in Aryan hearts and reaches its intellectual apotheosis only in Aryan minds. It is completely foreign to the Jew, He will always and forever be the born private capitalist of the most exploitative kind, and it is no coincidence that the great pillars on which some later mistakenly tried to build the foundation of a so-called people's enlightenment were all, without exception, opponents of the Jews. Millennia have inwardly hoped for a Germany of the German people,